Hey, what's up guys? It's kevandhisjeep. It's been a while, I know. I'm in a hotel actually, relaxing and recharging. Last couple weeks have been sort of hectic, but mostly like, like day to day, I haven't been doing anything like exciting or going anywhere. So like compared to how my life was when it was more like the constant travel and, where am I going to go? What am I going to do? Compared to that, it hasn't really been eventful at all. I do have some good news. Some awesome stuff has happened in the last couple of weeks as far as figuring out what I'm going to do about money and how I'm going to be able to, continue on with the whole plan of wandering and going into the mystery. Shout out to Into the Mystery 13. But yeah, for the point of this video, guys, is actually for the first time, I got invited, sort of like tagged, called out to do a specific kind of video that I guess was going around YouTube, sort of like a viral kind of thing. And the name of the video is the most commonly asked YouTube questions, the 7 most commonly asked YouTube questions. And I guess the idea of it is that like if everybody does it, then you have that video there. So when people are, they find your channel for the first time and they have this question, and for them it's a brand new question, brand new channel. Hey, hey, I was wondering this. I just found you. It's like there already. It's available for them to go and see it. The invitation to do the video came from Backpacking Brandon, and I'm going to have his link to his channel down in the description, of course, and I really do suggest that you guys go check him out. He's a pretty cool guy. What he's doing is backpacking. That's like his thing. What he has said in his videos so far, what makes it kind of interesting is that he's not actually a professional backpacker, or he hasn't been doing that kind of thing for so long, but he is like an outdoorsy kind of guy. He likes camping and all of that stuff. So he's documenting his sort of journey with backpacking from the beginning. It's really interesting. And watching him, if you enjoy like a channel with mine, watching me go from someone who's never done anything that I'm doing now, whether you're talking about the making the videos and the editing and all of that stuff, or the traveling alone by myself, the same kind of thing is going on with Brandon. You're watching him develop, watching him learn how to do the stuff that he's doing. So it's really cool. Go and check that out. To get into the questions, let's go. Waste no more time. The first question is, why do you do YouTube? Well, it's simple, guys. I mean, making videos is something that I have kind of had an interest in like my entire life, as long as I can remember. When I was a kid, well, not really, yeah, when I was a kid, around like 13, 14, 15 years old, me and my closest buddies, we would like skateboard and, go like cliff jumping and, stupid stuff like dangerous stuff, things like that. And we would just make these videos that back then were, there was nothing to them. They weren't like quality, but we had so much fun doing them. And a couple of them, like we would share them on like our MySpace, it was back then. And we actually had a lot of people, our friends. It wasn't like we had this big audience growing or anything like that, but a lot of people like from school actually liked them and thought they were pretty funny. So fast forward to 6, 7, I don't know, maybe like 8 months now, whatever. I'm working in an office and I'm not liking it. And YouTube, the same thing for, I'm sure, every single one of you that are watching me. YouTube was like one of my big escapes. After work, going home, being able to watch these videos of, whatever it is, funny, silly stuff, or people living awesome lives that I wish I was living. So I started to get really into just YouTube, watching videos. It was a fun way to pass time. And so once I started to really get on this path of wanting to do something so different from the life that I was living and trying to do stuff that was actually going to be fun, things that were meaningful, the idea of doing YouTube myself and no longer just being a spectator, but actually being a creator and possibly becoming, an influencer, being able to help people and motivate people, things like that, just like inspiring people through making things on YouTube. It just seems like I had to do it. I had to include that in the whole, journeying out into the unknown. So that is really the reason that I started to do YouTube in the first place. The second question is, when did you start? I don't know if it seems kind of weird that that would be one of the most commonly asked YouTube questions. When did you start? You can look. I mean, I think if you go to the About on my page, it tells you when my channel was created. If you go to my first video, that literally shows you when my first video was uploaded. But it was between 6 and 7 months ago now. The very first day that I hit the road, that I left my parents' house, said goodbye to everybody, I pulled out my phone and hit record, and I started recording my first YouTube video. Number 3, how did you come up with your name? That one doesn't need to be answered, does it? Number 4, how long do you plan on doing YouTube? This one is interesting to me because I feel like it kind of comes from the same angle when people say like, hey, you know, if YouTube, specifically for like big YouTubers, people who are sustaining a living by doing YouTube, everybody always wants to know, hey, like if YouTube dries up or if your audience just moves on, you know, you're not cool anymore. What are you going to do then? And I feel like that's always an interesting question to ask these people because, you know, to get huge on YouTube, you have to be seriously dedicated and working your butt off to really get to that point. And then to have these people be like, yeah, well, I mean, since obviously it's not going to last forever, what are you going to do for a real job later on? It's kind of a funny question, but yeah, how long do I actually plan on doing YouTube? Of course, you know, assuming that I can go for as long as I plan to, I honestly would love to do it to a point where it leads me into something even better, even more exciting, which I think is sort of the, you know, the end all. If you always are looking at, you know, YouTube as something that you want to get better at and bigger at and keep moving, you know, it's not like I starting YouTube, I wasn't like, you know what, I'll do it for 2 years and then I'll stop. No, I want to just get better at it and grow and keep going. And I ultimately think that if that did continue, if I was able to keep going with it and, you know, feedback from the audience was sustainable and growing with me as I grow and all of that stuff, then the only end that I would see to it was if it brought me to something bigger and better. Number 5 is, do you make your own thumbnails? I do, and I think for my channel specifically, I think that's kind of obvious. Maybe I should think about having somebody else make them and see if that'll be something that changes anything at all, like click rate or whatever, because yeah, my thumbnails are typically either the simplest thing, which is just like a photo taken out of the day's video that I think looks interesting or matches the video enough that it represents it well, or if I take it a step away from that, I just put some text on top of it, which, I mean, yeah, you guys have seen that. Number 6, do you make your own intro and outro? And I'll include in that logo, because no, my intro and my logo both of those come from my good friend Randy from Indiana, who I grew up with in Pennsylvania. He moved to Indiana, and then when I first began this whole thing, I think it was the first month, actually. I think it was within the first month that he and his girlfriend, who is awesome, and after that time that I spent there, became a good friend of mine as well. They invited me to come to their house, and they just really, you know, took me in with open arms, and I stayed there for a couple weeks, actually, and it was very, very nice time. We had a lot of fun. We did some cool stuff. I got to explore the area. The biggest thing that came out of that trip was Randy was very excited about my trip and my channel and everything that I was doing and wanted to do what he could. He's like a film guy, graphic guy, like, you know, Adobe Illustrator, Premiere, all that stuff. He's actually, his full-time job is video. He was very into helping me out, and he saw that, you know, back then my videos were even more like simplistic than they are now, in that I didn't have anything going on with them, like branding, you know, logo, anything like that. So he made me, you know, the bearded, sunglass wearing my face logo thing that's says kevandhisjeep on it and is always in the corner, or now I've started putting it in the beginnings of videos after the intro, which that intro that he made was awesome. He kind of came up with that idea and was just like running it through his head, talked about it out loud a few times, you know, over a couple of days, and then we went out and found this field, and it was perfect. We were like, hey, let's back the Jeep right in there, open up the tailgate, and like, you know, just it was like team creativity going together off of this one like good idea that Randy came up with for it. And then he has a high quality camera that he used to film, get those cool angles that he got and all that stuff. So all of that is 100% thanks to Randy, and I can't thank him enough. And the last one, number 7, guys, what camera do you use? Again, if you've been around for a long time, you know it's always been my phone, my iPhone. And thanks to some of my biggest supporters, I also got the GoPro, which I use for like action shots, time lapses, because I don't want to fill up my phone with super long time lapse. The SD card in the GoPro lets me just leave it on filming for a long time, so I'll use that for that stuff. And the phone so far is all I use for like putting it on the tripod, filming myself talking, getting shots of nature, stuff like that. I'll almost always use just my phone. But I do plan, I really want to get a good camera sometime soon, like interchangeable lenses, all that stuff, and really kind of step up the production just to that like new level through that way. That is all 7 questions, guys. So listen, I hope you enjoyed this. If you did, if this is your first time here, don't forget to hit subscribe. But if you enjoyed the video, you've been watching me, make sure you hit the like button just to show me that support. You know I appreciate that. I will be back soon talking to you guys and bringing the upload schedule back to kind of normal, where it used to be, which was consistent and I was comfortable with it. That is coming back very soon, and I have some really cool things to announce to you guys that I think is going to be just as exciting, you know, as a whole thing as anything has been with this whole channel. So very excited to release that. Comment down below, guys. Let me know where you're watching from. That's something that I'm really interested in knowing right now. If you are in the US, which is where most of you guys are at, just let me know like what state you're in, just so I know kind of like, you know, the spread that we're working with here, because I know that I really, off the top of my head, I know I have a lot of people in California, and I know I have a lot of people back in the Northeast where I'm from. So I'm kind of really interested to know like what we're working with here, and it has a lot to do with something that I want to come to you guys with in the future. So let me know. Thank you guys for watching. I will talk to you soon.